The 12th century BCE Levant is a site of constant attritional warfare. This territory is a corridor of survival where control of the mountain passes dictates which culture flourishes and which is erased from the record. The Canaanite warlord Sisera maintains dominance through a specific technological edge: 900 iron chariots. These vehicles provide a crushing advantage. In the flat valleys, heavy armor and horse-drawn speed allow Sisera to overrun local infantry before they can form a defensive line. The Israelite tribes, lacking a standing army or unified command, are forced into the hills to avoid being trampled. Deborah manages the logistics of the resistance. She sits in the hill country of Ephraim, processing intelligence and coordinating troop movements between fragmented tribes. She functions as the strategic architect for a nation that has forgotten how to fight as a single unit. Raw data and prayer cannot stop a charge of heavy cavalry. Unless the Israelites can neutralize the technological gap, they face a slaughter. Deborah faces a structural bottleneck. While she holds the strategic vision, tribal tradition requires a male general, Barak, to physically lead the strike in the field. When Deborah issues the order to attack, Barak falters. He refuses to march unless Deborah accompanies him, effectively demanding that his strategist also serve as emotional anchor on the front lines. Deborah agrees to go, but she warns him of the political cost. She predicts that because he cannot lead without her presence, the historical credit for the victory will fall to a woman rather than the commander of the army. Barak's hesitation reveals a collapse at the top of the military hierarchy. Deborah is presented with a choice. She can continue to prop up a failing leadership class, or she can use the coming conflict to replace it. This map illustrates the tactical trap. Deborah maneuvers the Israelite forces to bait Sisera into the Kishon River Valley. She times the engagement with a heavy seasonal storm, turning the valley floor into a saturated mud pit that pins the heavy iron chariots in place. With the chariots immobilized, the Israelite infantry descends from the heights. Sisera's army is broken, and Sisera himself is executed by Jael, a local woman who traps him in his sleep. The immediate military threat is removed. Following this victory, Deborah writes a song of praise and returns to her position under the palm tree. She resumes her role as an occasional mediator, allowing the military and political structure to revert to its previous decentralized state. Winning a battle solves a temporary problem, but it leaves the underlying structural rot intact. A leader who fails to use a moment of absolute leverage to dismantle an incompetent system ensures that the same vulnerabilities will return in the next generation. By allowing Barak to retain his status, Deborah secures a tactical win, but abdicates the political future. Imagine an alternate path. At the moment of victory, Deborah executes Barak for his cowardice and declares a permanent matriarchal autocracy, centralizing the 12 tribes under a single absolute command. By seizing the 900 chariots, Deborah secures the era's most valuable industrial secret. She establishes a state monopoly on iron processing 300 years before the rest of the Mediterranean. This technological lead turns a collection of tribes into a centralized manufacturing power. This industrial surplus fuels an expansion into maritime trade. Within a century, a unified Israelite empire colonizes the Mediterranean basin. When Rome is a village, Jerusalem is the administrative capital of a world where Hebrew is the language of commerce from Carthage to Spain. In 2026, the world operates as a high-tech meritocracy. Governance is built on the logic of the strategist rather than the dogma of the priest. The cityscapes reflect this: efficient, bioorganic structures designed to maximize resources, a direct evolution of a society that prioritized strategic clarity over tradition. This advanced global stability is the lost opportunity cost of Deborah's hesitation. A single failure to seize power at the height of a victory can delay a civilization's progress by thousands of years. Deborah left behind a legacy of influence, but she declined to build an institution of power. Influence is a temporary asset. It can inspire a population for a single lifetime, but without a permanent structural framework, a code of laws, a standing bureaucracy, a clear line of succession, ultimately that impact has an expiration date. The historical record shows the result. Because Deborah returned to her palm tree instead of a throne, the region fell back into tribal infighting and subjugation within 40 years of her death. Institutions rule for millennia. Influence disappears the moment the leader leaves the room. This lesson applies to every high-stakes environment today, from the boardroom to the lab. If you are the person providing the strategic vision, do not allow an incompetent figurehead to hold the authority simply because the hierarchy expects it. Many people are satisfied with a moment of recognition or a victory lap, but a victory lap is not a victory. True success is using your leverage to rewrite the rules of the game so that your vision becomes the permanent standard. True power belongs to those who possess the ruthless ambition to turn their strategic insights into binding law. The goal is not to win the current round. The goal is to write the code that will dictate how the world operates for the next 3,000 years.